Welcome to Pick a Card, Any Card.
Where we pick a card
Any card.
and shred it like chaos confetti.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Devin.
Today's cards are Force of Savagery.
And Wild Defiance.
No
How would you like a big-ass 8-power creature with trample for 3 mana on your board? No abilities as a drawback.
I'd love it. In fact, I've got one.
Have we got the card for you? In this corner, with 8 power and trample for 3 mana.
We have Force of Savagery. An 8-0 trample. Yes. 8-0. No.
That's it.
That's all it does.
It's just an 8-0 trample. It took min-maxing to the extreme.
So, you might think this is a terrible, terrible card, because
And it is.
doesn't it just die as a state-based action upon entering the battlefield?
Why, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does. Unless you have a static ability that says that it gets some sort of toughness.
Yep.
So, a static ability that grants all creatures a toughness boost, entering the battlefield with counters on it.
It has to be entering the battlefield. It can't be like, when it enters the battlefield, put a counter on it, because it dies before that ability resolves.
Right. So it has to enter the battlefield with counters on it. I'd love to keep all that, but I don't know that it's effective. Okay. So Force of Savagery is a rare from Future Sight. The Future Sight is the third set in the Time Spiral block. It costs 2 generic and a green, and it has power and toughness of 8-0. It is an elemental creature with trample. The art shows this upheaval of Earth surrounding this gigantic humanoid form from what looks like twisted vines, plant matter, as it just throws its arms into the air and lurches forward. The art was done by Dan Scott, and the flavor text reads, "Life cannot be created and then abandoned. It must be nurtured and fed so that it may express its ripened might." This is a quote by Fraley's.
Interesting.
And I think the flavor text captures this card perfectly.
Fairly well, yeah. Like, very, very good. I'm going to point out, though, like, I didn't say it earlier, but, like, Dan Scott, I think he did the art for one of our previous cards. So, yeah, Force of Savagery is an 8-0. Did you already mention the fact that you need to have, like, an Anthem ability on the field already to make it worthwhile at all?
You don't have to.
Yeah, you do. I guess.
No, you can get a lot out of enters the battlefield triggers with this.
That is true. But you have to have, like, really specific ones due to the fact that he will die before they resolve.
Yes. If you have an ability that when a creature enters the battlefield, it gets a +1/+1 counter on it, that won't work. He'll be gone by the time the +1/+1 counter is resolved.
Yep.
So you've got to have some very specific sorts of enters the battlefield ability. Or you can cast it after casting Savage Summoning.
That would work.
Savage Summoning is a 1 green instant. Savage Summoning can't be countered. The next creature card you cast this turn can be cast as though it had flash. That spell can't be countered. That creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on. This card does a lot for 1 green mana.
Mm-hmm.
It is a rare, but what's important about this, I think, is neither it nor the creature that comes after it can be countered. Mm-hmm. And it gives the creature flash. That means you have up 4 mana, your opponent can be swinging in at you with some ridiculous creature, and you can flash in a 9/1 that can't be countered.
Yep. The problem is it's a 9/1, so it's going to die. It takes out one of their dudes, but you essentially just made a 4-mana kill spell. In green, but...
In green. Green doesn't have access to that kind of power very often.
But it used 2 cards. It's 2 for 1. Use both your creature and Savage.
It's a 2 for 1 if you don't have any of the enters the battlefield triggers.
Yeah,
out.
well, what you do is you keep it saved, so like end of your turn, bring in the 8/1, so I can swing it at you on your turn.
9/1.
9/1, you're right.
So, I feel like with Force of Savagery, Savage Summoning is the only way to summon. It's got a lot of flavor to it.
Even if you don't actually use the spell Savage Summoning, just summon it really savagely.
Be angry when you summon this card. No mercy! Sticking with the Savage theme, 2 mana for a sorcery called Savage Punch.
That's a funny way to spell bear punch.
It really is. The art on Savage Punch has this guy. He's not even really that big. He's
I think it's
muscular, but he's not huge. And
what's his name? He's Solran. He's the green, red, blue guy from Khans of Tarkir. Surik. That's it.
There we go.
Surik Punch Bear.
Is that Surik?
I think it's supposed to be Surik.
I think because
I think it's supposed to be Surik.
I think it is.
But like just the artist drew them differently.
Well, he seems to have been wounded.
Yeah. Well, that's also the thing. Like Magic cards, the art for people isn't exactly
right.
Like
you have different artists drawing the same person.
Yeah, and they look very different. Like just go find all the different Jaces. Like barring like the most recent 2, they are all different.
Yeah.
Especially Memory Adept. Well, especially the Japanese anime baby Jace.
Yeah.
Because he's anime.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite.
So Savage Punch has an image of Surik, the Khan of the Tamir from Tarkir, just going nuts on a bear. He just with a savage left hook.
Oh, just kicked his ass.
And so Savage Punch is a sorcery that reads, target creature you control fights target creature you don't control with Ferocious. The creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn before it fights if you control a creature with power 4 or greater.
Mm-hmm.
You will control a creature with power 4 or greater if you have out Force of Savagery.
Mm-hmm.
So, Force of Savagery summoned in with Savage Summoning. There's a 9/1. Savage Punch. That's an 11/3 that just deals nuts amounts of damage. It will likely die because fighting is your creature deals damage equal to its power, and the other creature deals
damage
equal to its power. So it's basically like combat damage, but without the combat, and you get to pick what it is.
Yeah. So you're definitely killing something of theirs. With a little bit more power, you could kill Emrakul.
Yeah, just a touch.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Emrakul would kill the shit out of you back, but he still killed an Emrakul. Not many things in the universe can say that.
Let's get a little more savage then. Savage Silhouette. Savage Silhouette is 3 mana for an enchantment that gives +2/+2 and gives the creature pay 2, regenerates this creature.
There we go.
Now we've just killed an Emrakul and not died.
And lived to tell the tale.
We lived to tell the tale. We still haven't killed the big Emrakul.
Yeah, like older Emrakul. Newer kind of sleepy Emrakul, yes.
But I still think we've done a good job.
Yeah.
We've killed 1 Eldrazi.
Well, we killed all of them but the original.
Yeah.
Though if you don't want to spend all of those enchantments that go away when it dies, you could do...
There's only 1 enchantment there. The other one was an instant and a sorcery.
Okay.
So
they're all one-offs. Like, if you want to actually keep it on the board for longer than a turn, I guess regeneration is the best way to go.
Right. Or you can just keep increasing its toughness. If you want to, you can dip into white. Green and white go together quite nicely. There's Always Watching from Shadows over Innistrad, a card that I pulled during the pre-release.
Oh, you did? Awesome.
It is 3 mana for an enchantment. Non-token creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Vigilance.
It is a good card.
Because there's nothing like having a 9/1 with Vigilance.
It's really funny because this is very, very... it's very different from Intangible Virtue, which was also printed in the original Innistrad.
Yeah.
That gave token creatures +1/+1 in Vigilance.
Yep.
And it cost 2, and it was also white. And that one was because spirits were doing stuff.
Yeah, and spirits just haven't been around this time.
Yeah, well, in Innistrad it was, there was always like spirits and everything was going crazy, and then the angels showed up to save the day.
Right.
Now the angels are going crazy, and
they've already killed everything else. Yeah. So there's nothing really to show up and save the day.
Well, I guess Emrakul showed up to save the day. I guess.
Sure.
She stopped the angels from killing everything by killing everything herself.
Yeah. Any sort of static boost to toughness does the job. If you want to run 3 colors, you have access to Angelic Shield, which is a white and a blue. Creatures you control get +0/+1. You don't have a 9/1, you've got an 8/1.
Yep.
But you can sacrifice Angelic Shield to return target creature to its owner's hand. If you really want to double up on those enter the battlefield triggers.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess, but if you have, you need to have a way to keep him alive, because if you sacrifice him and activate the ability,
That's true.
you'd also have to be running 3 colors.
Yeah. Hey, there are 5 color decks that work.
They work, they don't win, but they work.
That's not true. Slivers exist.
Slivers, yeah, they still don't win.
I've seen Slivers do disgusting
I've
wins.
seen Slivers do disgusting things, but like Slivers is one of the prime examples of a deck that I've seen just be like, all right, I kill spell. That one pivotal sliver that you had, that just ruins you.
That's why you need to have more than one.
Yeah, but like it just kind of one of those like, aha, they all have flying, trample, and first strikes. Like, oh no, I can't deal with all those 3. But you know what I can deal with? All the ones that just have flying and trample. Kill your first strike one. Oh shit! Now I have block with my dragons. It's like crap. Though I really like the one that gives you. That's nuts.
Oh yeah, it empties your hand.
Mm-hmm. It's really good.
All right, so you don't like dipping into 3 colors.
Nah, green all the way.
Let's pull back to mono green.
Like if you play green, you play only green.
That's
you play
not true.
Blue green.
Or white green, or red green.
That is true. Green,
or Jund.
Green is a complementary color. You run it with other colors. You don't run other colors with green. Like just because a deck runs green doesn't mean it's not mono red.
just because you have green deck in your, or just because you have green mana in your mono blue deck doesn't mean that Tarmogoyf isn't blue.
Yeah. You've seen that's what that one standard deck for a long time was. It was not Tamir. It was Girl Deck Wins.
Yeah.
Because it ran Become Immense. That was it.
So alright, let's go back to mono green.
Yeah.
Cream of the Crop. It's a 2-mana enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may look at the top X cards of your library, where X is that creature's power. If you do, put one of those cards on top of your library, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So even if you have absolutely no boost to Force of Savagery, that's 3 mana to pick a card from the top 8 cards of your library that you want to draw next.
Oh yeah, that is pretty powerful. And it costs 2, and you should him out turn.
Yeah.
Die and scry 8 essentially.
Now, what's important to note about Cream of the Crop, there are a couple of drawbacks. One is that if the creature, you only get the one. You only get the top one, and you have to take 1. So if the creature has 1 power, that card has to stay on top. You can't put it at the bottom.
Okay.
If the creature has 0 power, the ability has no effect, so a lot of your walls aren't going to do anything.
Yeah.
But
and then don't run any walls.
Force of Savagery. Even if you're not buffing its toughness, the creature, the trigger for Cream of the Crop uses the creature's last known power and toughness.
Yeah.
So if it comes in as an 8/0 and then goes away, you still look at 8.
Yeah.
And if you start boosting Force of Savagery, well, then you start getting more and more and more. If you like having a boost to toughness, that nice 0/1 boost without having to go into white and blue, and you don't want to hard cast something.
Ew, what do you want to...
Who wants to hard cast anything?
Like you cast everything for free. That's how you play Magic.
Right.
You don't need...
So, Leyline of Vitality. Leyline of Vitality is a 4-mana enchantment, 2 and 2 green. If Leyline of Vitality is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. It just is there. Before the game even starts, it is there. Creatures you control get +0/+1, and, why not, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain 1 life. So turn 3, you have just stuck a Force of Savagery that is an 8/1, and it gained you a life.
Mm-hmm. That's nice.
That's nice.
And it doesn't...
No.
It's excellent. Really good.
That's why the ley lines are pricey, is just because if you have them in your opening hand...
Yeah, essentially. It's like they're either in your opening hand or you're drawing them when you can't afford to play them.
Right. But I'm tired of mono green now.
Understandable.
Let's jump into red.
Red works really well with green.
Red,
There's a reason why it's
green,
one of its allied colors.
It is, and red also has a few enters the battlefield triggers that deal with power. Electropotence, for example. Electropotence is 3 mana for an enchantment, 2 generic and a red. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2 and a red. If you do, that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. This turns your
8
force...
damage.
Yeah.
Just straight up.
8 damage. Done. It costs you 3 mana, so you have to have 6 mana for the Electropotence to actually go off.
Mm-hmm.
So it works better in the late game if there's something particularly troublesome. Important to note about Electropotence is you decide whether or not you're going to pay that mana as the ability resolves. So your opponent doesn't get to respond to the damage. They get to respond to the trigger before you decide whether or not you're actually going to activate the trigger.
Yeah.
So if they do something that says, oh, I prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn, or I prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn,
You're like, cool.
I don't pay the mana.
3.
So it gives you some nice flexibility there.
Yeah. But more often than not, if you have the mana, you're going to use it.
Right. Now, if you don't want to pay the mana, let's use Electropotence's, I guess, big brother? I'd say big brother.
Warstorm Surge?
Warstorm
Surge.
Surge.
6.
Costs 6, yes. But whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. It just does it. Costs 6, but it's after that, it's pure value.
I actually think Electropotence is better. Because
like
it gets out early and then you play big cards.
Yeah, I like Electropotence
This is a turn
better.
6 drop. You want to put out your big creatures turn 6.
Right.
Like that, turn 6 is when you're playing the big things to use this ability, not this.
Yeah, turn 6 is when you have the mana to utilize either Warstorm Surge, which taps you out, and you get this ability for turn 7.
Yep.
Or turn 6 rolls around, you drop Force of Savagery and pay 3 mana, and there's a creature and 8 damage.
I know what I would play in this deck? A red-white enchantment deck that runs into the Nyx or something like that. Whatever that makes enchantments into creatures. It's a white enchantment. That's all I remember. Good job.
So, Opalescent?
I guess.
That would work.
Yeah. But yeah, like being able to turn it into it's a creature. It's a 6 drop. So it'll turn into a 6/6 creature. So you play it, its own ability would activate,
Yeah.
and it would deal 6 damage to something. But yeah, Opalescence is one of those cards that just busts the rule. It's a card that makes you have to actually figure out what the hell layers are.
Yeah. I don't like layers.
They exist for a good reason.
I'm sure they do.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, and actually, fortunately, most people don't have to deal with them
No, never.
until you start breaking out cards like Opalescence.
Opalescence and Humility is
Yeah.
why these exist. And then you also need to know timestamps.
Well, timestamps are easy.
Yeah, timestamps are pretty easy, but like timestamps,
And you can,
you have to work with timestamps when you work with layers.
at the very least, you can put cards like one on top of the other in timestamp order.
Yeah.
There is a physical, you can physically represent timestamps.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to physically represent layers in a way that helps you figure out what's going.
Yeah. No, layers is pretty, layers is constant.
Right.
Like all the layers are these abilities in this order always. And then it's within those layers which was first. It's just like entering the battle, or like things, power and toughness is equal to this, always happens before things get +X+X.
Right.
But like, oh, well, I have a thing that says all creatures are 1/1s, and I have a thing that says all creatures are 2/2s. Which one happens first? It's like, well, timestamps, which, like, this one came in first. All right, so that one doesn't happen. That one happens first, then the other one.
Right.
But whatever. Timestamps are weird and annoying. Back on topic. We've talked about every color but black.
Well,
Let's talk about a black card.
let's talk about a black card. It works. It's not necessarily the greatest unless you have a toughness booster out there. But Whip of Erebos. So you've dropped in your Force of Savagery, and in response to you casting it, your opponent has just blown up your enchantment that gives toughness boost. Crap. Force of Savagery goes to the graveyard. Alright, fine. I replay my enchantment. My things are getting toughness boosts again. Slap down a Whip of Erebos and just bring that...
It dies and it just comes back. I don't care.
Now, the downside of Whip of Erebos is it doesn't give a toughness boost on its own, so you've got to have another card out there. But it does give haste and lifelink.
Oh yeah, I forgot it also gave lifeline.
Yep.
I keep forgetting that about Whip of Erebos.
That's what makes Whip of Erebos gross.
Yep. which is so weird because herself just says players can't gain life. Is it players or opponents?
Opponents.
Opponents can't gain life, which is I just assume life gain is not a thing. Erebos does what Erebos does.
Yeah, no, Erebos is very greedy.
I do like how no one really cares at all about Erebos, but they love her whip.
Yeah.
Whip of Erebos is a really, really good and popular card.
No one cares about Erebos.
No one cares.
I feel like Erebos himself is worth sideboard.
I keep thinking Erebos is a she, just because. What is it? Erebos says opponents can't gain life. Is that all she does? Oh, you can pay 2 mana and 2 life to draw a card.
Yeah.
That's
meh.
She's a 5/7. She's got a pretty nice body on him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a guy.
Oh, Erebos is definitely a dude. I just always assumed it was a she.
Yeah.
Because
that's fair.
It was just one of those like, oh, Erebos, God of the Dead. That sounds like a female.
I don't.
What? Because I think it's because Death in the Marvel comics is a female, and maybe that. Also because I think Erebus is the actual Greek god of death or darkness or something like that.
The Greek or Roman?
Yeah.
I always get the two confused.
The god of the underworld is Hades or Pluto.
Right.
But the god of darkness is Erebus.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if Erebus is female, but I always just assumed Erebos was female. It was just a thing that popped in my head. So I am sorry, Erebos. I have been misgendering you for a while.
How dare you? Yeah, Erebus does not work very well with Force of Savagery.
Yeah, because then you don't gain life.
You gain life.
Oh yeah, you're right. You do.
We've really got to school you on Erebus.
Yep, I'm so bad. Me and Erebos don't get along. Why do you think I've lived so long?
I was always more of a fan of Athreos.
Athreos is pretty awesome. He is one of my commanders. That's because Athreos also doesn't get along with Erebos. He's let people come back. They did, but they just bribe Athreos.
So long as you pay.
Fine, whatever, I don't care.
So long as you pay.
One less trip I have to make. Get out of here. That was like the only. Yeah, I think those are the only black gods that are actually like to death.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's Farika.
Farika is the snake one, right?
Yep. Who's basically
a god of snakes / poison.
Yeah. And
Gorgons,
then there's
the Minotaur
Magosi. One. No, not Magosi.
Who's the Minotaur?
Mogus.
Mogus, that's his name. Mogus. Did you know Mogus, the Minotaur, is the brother
of Iroas, the Centaur.
Iroas, the Centaur.
Yeah.
And they hate each other. They fight all the time.
Right.
Let's see, that's white.
Which is why Mogus is the god of war and Iroas is the god of victory.
Yep. But there's the other black one is.
That's all of them.
No, there's the blue-black one.
Oh, there is a blue-black one.
Who's Phoenix.
Yeah, god of deception and lies.
Is that what he does?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't. I remember he did like wall stuff, or like he milled people for power or for toughness. It was all creatures you control have tap, mill target player equal to its toughness. So he mills 7 every turn.
Yeah. Does not play well with Force of Savagery.
No, not at all.
Now, you know blue better than I do. Are there blue cards that allow you to draw cards equal to a creature's power? I feel like that's got to be a thing. It might be a green thing.
Sacrificing the creature, I doubt it.
That might be a green thing.
Yeah, that is definitely a green thing. Like Garuk's. No, it's something Garuk's ringleader.
Garuk's pack leader.
Yeah, Garuk's pack leader or something like that.
There you go.
Yep, there he is.
Whenever another creature with power... Oh, no. That's not as good as I thought it was.
Oh,
it's just draw.
Yeah, but there are cards that say draw cards equal to that creature's power. I just don't know them off the top of my head. They're definitely green. Yeah,
that makes sense. I know one of them, it's not coming to my... It's not making it from my brain to my tongue.
I think there was one in Shadows over Innistrad, now I think about it. But I may be wrong. There was like an elk. And it may have just been... No. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well... Moving on.
But yeah, Force of Savagery is fun if you can make it work. It'd take a lot of work to get it to work, though.
You just have to build the deck around it.
Yeah. Ironically, I think you could make it work with my card. Like, and not.
It doesn't.
Not with my card, but it'd be very similar decks.
It would work in a. Well, no, because your deck is a lot of triggered pump abilities.
Yeah, but like
those are too slow for him.
Similar type things are like, all right, I'm just going to pump all my creatures and swing, which is very white.
Yeah.
With like.
It's also very green.
Yeah, so like you'd have to run green-white, just like Force of Savagery. So I guess you'd run like some white weenies.
Or just Anthem effects.
Yeah, just Anthem effects.
And white is great at Anthem.
Yeah, like Honor the Pure is. I don't know. I know it's white. Oh, Honor the Pure is 2 mana.
Yeah.
Then they made one that was white. I know there's Dictate of Heliod, which is 5 mana, gives all creatures +2/+2.
Yeah.
That good.
That's 5 mana.
Yeah. But Honor the Pure is white creature. Yeah, never mind.
Right.
There's one that gives all creatures plus 1, and it's not Honor the Pure. I don't.
Always watching.
Yeah, there's another one, but I can't remember what it is. Anyway, that's all I got. That's all I got on.
Yeah, no, this is a very straightforward card.
It's fairly. Mine is also fairly straightforward.
This may end up being a shorter episode. So what is your card? We just got done being savage. What are we gonna do next?
Now we're gonna be Defiant. My card is Wild Defiance. Wild Defiance is a 3-drop enchantment. So it's 2 generic mana and a green mana, and it was printed in Avacyn Restored, which was also in Innistrad. I've been talking a lot about Innistrad. This is actually just completely coincidental.
Spoiler season 2016.
Yeah. Anyway, what it is enchantment. So it says whenever a creature you control becomes the target of an instant or sorcery spell, that creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. The flavor text is, when civilization reaches out its greedy hand, take it off at the wrist. It's a quote from Garruk Wildspeaker, because I sound just like Garruk. I sound like a man that Garruk would kill. If you don't know, this was during the time when Garruk got zapped by Liliana's...
The Chain Veil.
The Chain Veil / Liliana's dark magic of dumb.
Her curse.
Yeah, and she made... Because they just had to shoehorn Garruk into being a flip card planeswalker. Which I don't blame them, because I totally would too, because it's awesome.
One of only now 2 flip planeswalkers.
Yep.
They could have just waited and done Arlen Cord.
Yeah. Well, they may not have known they'd come back to Innistrad, but Innistrad was really popular. I kind of don't blame them. So anyway, yeah. So Liliana zapped him with the curse thing, and so he transformed, and so he spent a lot of time just in Innistrad hunting for Liliana because he wanted to kill her dead because she zapped him. And so he was in Innistrad, and in the art of this, you can see Garruk just kind of standing in the background with and in the foreground, there's some kind of
looks like a wolf?
Some kind of wolf thing with spikes going on, but it's really shaded dark and its eyes are growing beady.
It almost looks like if you took a wolf and fused it with a quill spike.
Essentially. It's getting big spiky quills on its back. And I like this card a lot because the ability reflects kind of what's happening in the card and the name. If you have the name, you feel like, oh, it's Wild Defiance. This wolf is being attacked by something. Probably a human.
Right.
Or something, and this wolf is just the whole point of it is all right, this human is trying to do something to you, trying to hold you down, trying to trap you, something. Whatever it does to you, shrug it off and just beat through it with pure power and strength.
Take whatever it's doing to you and turn on it.
Yeah, just do not care. And that's exactly what this card does. And I think the original point of the card was to be okay, play it. Now your opponent can't kill spell. Well, they can kill spell it, but they can't burn it.
Right.
If they do, it gets bigger. They can't oh yeah, tap that creature. Now it's bigger. It's
literally all creatures are now immune to lightning bolt.
Yeah. Unless they happen to be a 0/0 already.
Then they've already died.
Nah, whatever. If they're your creature, he's not immune to lightning bolt. He would get +3/+3 and then die.
No, he wouldn't.
Yeah, he would. He would die and then he'd get +3.
No, he would.
He would die because he's 0 toughness when he enters battlefield. So this ability.
Oh yeah, the Force of Savagery would have died.
Yep.
But you couldn't target it by the time it died.
Yeah. Shut up. It makes sense. Regardless.
But yeah, all creatures are now immune to lightning bolt.
Yep.
And basically most forms of damage.
Yep.
Takes a fireball to kill something like this.
It takes something. Something have to be pretty. Yeah, they just be a straight up kill spell. You can't kill it with damage. This thing will just outrace it because of just this enchantment being in existence.
You can kill a 1/1 with a fireball for 5 mana.
5 mana. There you go. And it's still yeah. Once again, it takes 5 mana.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the reason it's actually immune to Lightning Bolt is because while Lightning Bolt is on the stack still targeting the creature, while Defiance will activate, trigger, and put on the stack first, or after that, so it'll resolve first.
Yes.
Giving it the buff, and then the thing. Oh, and fun fact, it doesn't matter if it gets countered.
Right.
So it's target Doomblade, counter your Doomblade if you're running blue.
Right.
But whatever. Counter your Doomblade. Oh, and it gets +3/+3 because you've targeted it.
This actually would be an incredibly potent green-blue deck.
Yeah, just like give it flying or something.
Green-blue aggro would just...
Yeah, just give it something unblockable.
Yeah.
What I actually ran it is I ran it into a mono green pump deck.
Right.
The whole point of the deck was that whenever I played with someone else who didn't know I really how to play very well or didn't have their own deck, they'd be like, oh, I don't have a deck. I'm like, well, here. And I'd hand it to them. And they're like, okay, how does it play? And I'm like, shuffle it up and draw your hand. You'll figure it out. And they're like, okay. And then they would draw it, and they'd just be like, oh.
It's real easy.
This is pretty simple. And all the deck was like two copies of creatures and a whole bunch of pump spells.
Yeah, your giant growth, the quintessential pump spell.
Yeah, like the most
giant growth
basic.
Is gross in this.
Oh yeah, giant growth, and it's the weird part of giant growth. It's actually like one of the worst, even though it's actually really solid.
Yeah, I mean 1 mana for 3/3 is pretty good.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things that work really well. Like there's giant growth, titanic growth, which is 2 mana that gives +4/+4.
Honestly, that wasn't worth it. It's 1 whole extra mana.
Yeah.
And doesn't give 3 more power toughness.
I ran it because I had it. It was also cheap.
Right.
There's
They were trying to get out of the giant growth / lightning bolt era and move to things that were not for 3.
For things. Well, that was like one of their early things. Like giant growth was early on, and they had lightning bolt early on, and it was ancestral recall, which was also one of the 1 mana for 3 of something.
Right.
And then they realized that drawing cards was way better than giving 1 creature +3/+3. Anyway, so yeah, like I ran a whole bunch of pump spells. There was Giant Growth, Titanic Growth, Groundswell, which had land. It was 1 mana for 4/4 if you had land in the battlefield.
Right.
Another one I ran was Primal Bellows, which gave something +X/+X, where X was the number of forests you had. Mutagenic Growth, which cost 1 Phyrexian and gave it +2/+2, so it was essentially free.
Yeah, because life totals don't matter when you're the aggressor.
Yeah, so what you do is you'd be like, alright, I swing with my creature, and what I ran was a whole bunch of just 1/1s for 1, ideally with Trample, or a Grook's Champion, which was a 3/2 Trample for 3.
Right.
3/2 Trample for 2. And I'd be like, alright, I swing my 1/1 Trample. And they're like, it's just a 1/1, right? It's like, yeah, like I block with my 1. It's like, all right, well, I giant growth it, mutagenic growth it for free, mutagenic growth it for free, giant growth it again. They're like, okay, how much is that? It's like, well, I targeted it 4 times, so
there's 12.
It got pumped +3/+3 4 times with Wild Defiance. Okay. +6 for each for both of the giant growths. Okay.
So there's 18.
And +4 for mutagenic growths.
Which is 22.
Just like...
So all in all, it's a 23/23 trample.
Yep. He's like, oh, yeah, about that. And that's just the most basic of strategy. A lot of the better cards was Might of Old Krosa, which also gave it +4/+4 for 1. Probably the best one is Berserk, which I don't think I'd be able to run because it's really old, really expensive. But what Berserk did, it was 1 green instant, and it can only be cast before the combat step, so you can't like cheat it out. But once you get it out, your opponent knows.
Yeah.
What it does is it can't be cast before the combat step, or it can only be cast before. It says target creature gains trample and gains +X/+O until end of turn, where X is its power. At the beginning of the next end step, destroy that creature if it attacked. So it's essentially like it goes nuts. It swings in for pretty much double its damage,
and then dies.
Fun fact.
Essentially using up all of its life force in that 1 attack.
Yep, which is all it needs. Ironically, I cast this on a 1/1. But fun fact: if you just cast this, if you have Wild Defiance and a 1/1, you would say, all right, I cast Berserk, targeting my 1/1.
Right.
Then Wild Defiance goes on the stack, giving it +3/+3 first. Then it gets +4/+0 because its power is now 4.
Yes. It's the reverse of Lightning Bolt. The same thing that grants immunity to Lightning Bolts makes this way better than it normally would be.
So like just with that, you would like, all right, swing my 1/1. All right, assuming this is turn, you're like, okay, giant growth. You have 4 mana. Like turn 1, you play your 1/1. Turn 2, I guess you just sit there. You swing.
I'm bored.
Maybe you probably swing, just put in 2 giant growths on it or something like that, or a Titanic growth, and you're like, whatever, 5 damage, and like turn 3, Wild Defiance. Turn 4, giant growth, mutagenic growth, giving it +5/+5, +6/+6 for that, so that's +11. So it's a 12/12. Berserk, it's now a 30/30, and you still have another floating mana. So you could give it something like unblockable or flying. I considered running other things. Another really good pump spell is Become Immense.
Yep. Which is incredibly useful just because you're going to be able to get so much use out of that delve.
Yeah, because what Become Immense is, it's a 6-drop instant with delve. So after you just cast like 5 pumps, you're like, okay, let them go to the graveyard, exile them for delve, give it +6/+6 end of turn with Wild Defiance. That creature gets +9/+9.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most I don't want to say flexible. Probably one of the biggest bang for your buck you're gonna get.
Oh yeah, I ran actually the one I did is when I made this deck. Innistrad just came out, and one of the cards I ran with it was a Miracle.
Okay,
it was
yeah.
like hunt something of the hunt or something like that, and it gave it +7/+7 for 1 green.
Right.
Because if you had Miracle, but it cost like 4.
Right.
But I got it off with its Miracle once, and actually won the game. It's like, can you do 7? I'm like, yes, I can. It's like, darn. But
Miracle was a fun mechanic. I don't think
it
Miracle was as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
the problem is
it was exactly as good as it could have been for what it is.
Yeah, like you can't make it too good. Like I think the best Miracle card is Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah.
And like if you cast Cyclonic Rift for its Miracle, that's really good.
But it's only on your turn.
Yeah.
I think they could have made it a little better without, I think, absolutely breaking it.
Actually, no. Fun fact: if you actually do draw that card on your opponent's turn, you can cast it.
Is it?
Yes. I actually had a big argument with one of my friends, and he was right. I was at the wrong end of this conversation. So, Stuart, if you're listening to this, no, I did not just admit that you were right. You were still wrong, because you're always wrong, but I was totally in the wrong here. Oh, no, Cyclonic Rift is Overload. You're right, I got that wrong. Yeah, I don't know. Temporal Mastery, that's a card.
There we go.
Banishing Stroke.
Oh. Okay,
Yep.
So, yeah, Miracle is... Okay, no, Miracle is exactly as good as it can be without being ridiculously broken.
Yep, you may cast this card for its Miracle cost when you draw it, if it's the first card you drew this turn. So
Right.
it counts on your opponent's turn if you manage to draw on your turn, and it happens to be Miracle.
There
cast it.
are
Just then and there.
instant speed draws, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But anyway, like Become Immense, that's essentially the last of the green cards. There are several other green cards you can run to pump stuff.
There's an endless supply of pump spells.
Oh yeah, but like if you're wanting to go into other colors, one of the things I kind of based this off of was the idea of an Infect deck.
Yeah.
Because like there was that one deck in Standard when Infect was around. You're like, all right,
that deck has since moved to Modern and is doing shockingly well.
It is doing really well now. Yeah, it's because Become Immense became a thing, and then Eldrazi became a thing. Now it's back. But like if you're wanting to splash into other colors, like there's Tainted Strike, which is 1 black instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains Infect.
And it's so much easier to deal 10 damage with this deck than it is to deal 20.
Oh yeah,
so much easier.
So much easier, especially if they don't know. Like I have a 1/1 trample. It's like, all right, I swing. You're gonna pump it for like +9/+9, but like I'm gonna swing out lethal next turn anyway. I take it. It's like surprise. It now has Infect. I am going to swing for +9/+9. With Wild Defiance on the field, it actually gives it +1 from Tainted Strike, +3 for Wild Defiance, so it's +4. So it's a 5/5. Give it double strike so that you can actually have a card. I think the next card...
the next card you're going to talk about is Double Cleave.
Double Cleave. So if you're running 3 colors, you want to splash red in here. I think red is the optimal one you want to go for if you're going to splash a color into this deck.
Yeah.
Red,
Because it gives you more targeting ability, and it also gives you things like Double Strike.
Yeah. And also I just think target creature is can't be blocked this turn, stuff like that. But
if you want to play Naya with Double Cleave and Force of Savagery, there you go.
Oh yeah, you can get there. But double cleave, just one in a red white hybrid. So most likely you go one in a red. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. So that and tainted strike gives it exactly 10 infect.
Yep.
Fun fact, actually no, it gives it more.
It gives it more
Because the double this targeting it will give it +3, so it'd be an 8/8 double strike.
Yeah,
an 8/7
so 16.
double. So 16, still 16 infect damage.
Can I just take a brief moment to mention the wonderful flavor text on double cleave?
Sure, what's it?
When in doubt, kill him twice.
It's actually really good. I like that.
I think it's incredibly effective, especially since we were just talking about infect.
Yep. Thing you can do with if you are gonna splash white, you can splash white without actually having to splash white. If you have like double cleave, another white spell that you'd want to use is a blessing.
Yeah.
Which is one
Use
in
that
a
Phyrexian
Phyrexian white. It would give it protection from a color of your choice. So if you're like, aha, I have 3 5/5s. Look, well, are they all red? Yeah, sweet. I don't care.
Yeah, Apostle's Blessing is really nice.
Yeah, Apostle's Blessing is good.
There are so many great cards.
There are a bunch of red things like Tamir Battle Rage. It gives it like +2/+2 in double strike. That also costs 2. There's things that just give +2. There's like Titan Strength that gives +3/+.
Yeah.
So if you're wanting to go buff, like red or green would go really well.
I will never run out of cards to talk about in this podcast. I may eventually run out of cards to build decks around.
Oh yeah. Well, of course you're never going to run out of cards because by the time we get like 5 cards in, they release a new set.
Right.
But obviously I mentioned a lot of these 1/1 tramples that I've been talking about. But like there are actually a bunch of 1/1 tramples out there, regardless of how silly they sound. When I first made the deck, there were only 2. There was Defiant Elf, a 1/1 elf with trample for 1 green mana, who I went with because it had the word Defiant in its name. That was it. The other one was Llanowar Elite, which was a 1/1 with trample for 1 green, and he was also an elf. The only difference was he had a Kicker X.
I think it was Kicker 8.
Oh yeah, it was Kicker 8, and he came in with like 8+1 counters on him.
Yeah.
So like,
which is obscene.
It's obscene. It makes him strictly better than this guy because it just makes him slightly better.
Yeah, because you can cast him late game and you've got a 9/9.
Yeah, but
no, not sorry. Because you can cast him late game and have a 5/5 for 9 mana.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Woo! So you would have a 1/1 with trample for early game, but nonetheless, like even though Llanowar Elite was better because he had just more options, Defiant Elf had the word Defiant in his name, and the art is way cooler.
Since you built this deck, though, my personal favorite 1/1 with trample has come out. Charging Badger.
Yep, Charging Badger is amazing. Like, if I remade this deck, I'd totally just run Charging Badger.
And as far as I'm concerned, all other 1/1 with tramples are Charging Badgers. Mm-hmm. They will never print anything that is not a Charging Badger to me. Oh. Because it's a Badger.
And it's charging. Charging Badger don't care. Charging Badger don't give a shit. But, like, once again, they're like, you could go red, and there are several, like, 1/1s, not necessarily with trample, but some of them have, like, different things on them. I mentioned earlier, Infect, you could run Glistener Elf.
Yeah, Glistener Elf.
Put Infect on it.
Infect,
yeah,
which you can boost proportions.
Yeah, but then you'd want to run some form of, like, unblockable, so you can just get that 10 damage in. But if you really want to go into it, you could run any form of red. Yeah. And instead of playing your creatures early on, you would play stuff. You just would wait and like turn 4 to your big turn, and you'd play something like Spark Element.
Yeah.
Which is a 3/1 trample haste.
At the end of your turn,
sacrifice it. But like you're going in. It's like turn 4, Spark Elemental. It's a 3/1. Okay.
And then pump it.
Yeah, you're like, all right. What's the one I mentioned earlier? Let's go.
Giant Growth, Become Immense.
Yeah, like
anything.
Become Immense would be the best, but you don't have cards in your graveyard at this point. So let's just say Giant Growth for 1. So you've used 2 of your 4 mana.
But you've got.
Actually, what you'd want to do is
if you for 2 mana, you're swinging with a 9.
9/9.
No.
Or no, he'd be a 9/7.
You're swinging in with a 9/7 for
trample.
2 mana with trample.
That they didn't see coming because he has haste. You played him this turn. And then you could just give him double strike, and then he'd be he'd do 18 damage. Trample.
Yeah. And hell, cast Berserk.
Oh no, he wouldn't, because you'd charge him with the double strike.
Yeah.
Or you'd give him a +3/+3.
Right.
So he'd be a 12-something double strike.
You can tell we're not good at math.
Yeah. What's math? Yeah, but yeah, if you manage it...
Big number, big number.
Like, that's what you'd want to do, is you want to use Berserk. Because you'd be like, all right, Berserk, look, we're not good at math. Remember last episode where I gave, like, exact calculations for what happened if you flipped 256 coins?
Yeah. But you did that well in advance.
No, I totally did that off the top of my head, because I'm smart. SMRT, smart. So he'd be a 3/1, and if you cast Berserk, he'd get +3. I'm just going to go with the because I don't care about top.
Right.
He'd get +3, so it'd be 6. Berserk would kick in, giving him +6 more, so he'd be at 12. Then you'd activate the double strike, giving him +3 more, so he'd be 15 double strike. Or you would cast Berserk after that.
Yeah. Why are you not casting Berserk?
I realized
last?
that when I already said Berserk, so I was going to continue with this. So you'd like, all right, give him double strike. Okay, so he'd be a 6. Then Berserk, he'd be at 9. Berserk would give him +9, so it'd be 18 double strike.
Yeah.
Swing.
There it is. We've
another one I found with quick search was Lightning Serpent, which I didn't like.
I had not heard of this card before. Cold Snap did some interesting things.
Cold Snap did a bunch of stuff. Ironically, this serpent made of lightning and fire came out in Cold Snap.
So Lightning Serpent is a 2/1 elemental serpent with trample and haste, and it enters the battlefield with... Oh, sorry, it's mana cost. You go ahead and discard.
Oh, well, fine. I was going to let you.
That's fine. For some reason, I'm always the one who reads the cards.
Not always. I let you because you started talking about him first, and he's red, so I figured you would walk about him.
Do you like me some red?
I let you have this one. But yeah, Lightning Serpent is a 2/1 for 1 red and X. He's got trample and haste. At the end of the turn, sacrifice Lightning Serpent. So he's kind of like this Spark Elemental that I mentioned earlier. The big difference is he comes into play with X +1/+0 counters on him. So I guess if you have extra mana, you can give his power just a little bit more. Most likely, you're just going to cast him for he's a 2/1 trample. Spark Elemental is kind of strictly better. If I were to remake this deck, I would probably, now that I said the double strike 18 or an 8.
Yeah, once you start thinking.
Once numbers, I said 18/16 double strike trample haste.
Because guaranteed, whatever they block with dies it with first strike.
Oh yeah, and they're gonna have to do more than double block, or they're gonna take 20 damage.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, holy crap.
Not even Force of Savagery can stop that.
I really think the best version of this deck is actually in Modern, and it doesn't run Wild Defiance. It's the Infect deck.
Yeah.
It'd just be green. I would make it green-white. And I would run that white I mentioned, like Apostle's Blessing.
Right.
Most likely, I would run green-red, and I would splash white. I would have the white spells, but it wouldn't actually have any white anything on it. Yeah, Basilisk. Death Touch.
So, if I were to add anything to this deck that you've talked about, I would add Livewire Lash. Livewire Lash is an artifact, equipment, 2 mana. The equip cost is 2. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell, this creature deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So, on top of Wild Defiance, making it bigger before you swing in, you're just pinging away at their life total. And it costs you nothing more than what you're already doing.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, I would have to put 2 mana down that wouldn't target it, so it wouldn't affect it.
Yeah, but you're not doing anything turn 2 anyway.
That is true. Well, if I use the Spark Elemental. If I was going Glistener Elf, like turn 1, Glistener Elf. Ideally, you just go turn 1.
Turn 1 Glistener Elf, turn 2 Livewire Lash.
That is true. Turn 3 Wild Defiance, turn 4
equip, and just throw stuff at the wall.
Yeah. Oh wait, is
the creature deals
the creature?
Damage.
So yeah, you would deal like, that gets -2, that gets -2, or you just get 2 poison counters.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little bit better.
Like, yeah, you do have to sink the equip cost in, but you are running green. You can do a little bit to splash in some accelerants, so you can boost your mana a little bit. Honestly, this is what I would add to the deck if it were me.
Yeah.
Not everyone is me.
Yeah. I'm not you.
I wouldn't run Glistener Elf, because I'm not a dick.
But no, you have to run Glistener Elf.
I am kind of a dick.
I would actually run... I wouldn't run this. I wouldn't run this card, but you've reminded me of another card that I could run. Is actually one you mentioned earlier, Savage Beating.
Oh yeah,
Because Glistener Elf,
Savage Punch.
Yeah, it targets her, so she gets +3/+3.
Yep.
He's like, okay, I deal my power to you.
But because
Because it's infect, it gives it minus whatever. So even if it's like a 6/6, and Glistener Elf's a 4/4, it's like, okay. There's like, Glistener Elf deals 4 damage to it. Okay. It deals 2.
Does fight happen simultaneously?
No.
That's important.
Yes, it is. Because it specifically says your creature deals damage first.
Yeah.
So it is very important.
And actually, Savage Punch would be great just because you get the Ferocious trigger every time.
Yep. It may not be fight. Like, fight may happen at the same time, but there is definitely, like, cards that do it in order of your creature first. So I may be wrong when it comes to Savage Beating. Or, sorry, Savage Punch. Fit. Would you like some wheat things? Some what?
I think it's
Some
called
wheat
Fight
things,
because
Bride.
it was originally on
Some wheat
Pit
things.
Fight.
Target creature control
It
fights
is
another creature.
simultaneous.
Yeah. All right. So it does happen simultaneously, but I know there's a card out there that says like this creature deals damage to that,
Oh yeah.
and then that one deals back.
Right.
I can't remember what it is. I mean, they were just older versions of Fight.
Yeah.
I do know there's something like it's something in Shadows of Innistrad. It's like a Cursed Bite or something like that. Rabid Bite or something like that. Just
Rabid Bite.
yeah, just like one creature deals damage, or this creature deals damage to that creature.
Right. But even without that, if you have a 1/1 and you Savage Punch, Wild Defiance triggers, resolves.
Oh.
Ferocious triggers because you have a 4/4.
Yep.
So that creature gets another +2/+2. So you have a 6/6 that fights.
Yep. Yes, it does. That is great. And that is why I love Wild Defiance, because it turns like all of your things that, like, this creature is now bigger into this creature is way bigger.
Yeah. All of your pump just gets huge.
Oh, it just gets a giant growth just tacked on it for free.
Basically, yeah.
And that is why I love it.
Wild Defiance is a great card.
It is really
I think we've done a pretty good job of being wild and savage today.
Mm-hmm. Defiant one.
Defiant. We've been all over. We have encapsulated green so well today, I feel like. So
thank you for listening to Pick a Card, Any Card. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or card suggestions, you can email us at
pacac.cast@gmail.com.
Or if you are listening to this on YouTube, you can leave them in the comments below.
Thanks for listening to. Oh no.
Oh
It's
yeah.
you.
It's you. You were trying to take this from me.
I'm sorry.
This is special to me.
I'm
and
sorry.
you took
I'm just fucking up to all over today.
You are. You should go home and feel bad. And by go home, I mean stay here because you are home because we record this in your basement.